Hello everybody, it's the Historical Gamer once again, and today we are returning to another first look of Master and Command, the upcoming the upcoming real-time strategy and war game by Armchair History Interactive, the developers of Fire and Maneuver, the gaming division of the Armchair Historian YouTube channel. This is a 18th century Frederick the Great era sort of musket, powder and musket, or whatever the hell you call this, era of combat game. It has kind of a procedurally generated campaign, although the Rise of Frederick, I believe, is a little more, like, historically based. But it has a procedurally generated campaign. You can play one of 5 different countries, and then you can kind of fight across a map and try and win a campaign to get you to the next act. I believe every campaign is 3 acts long. You manage and upgrade your army and those kind of things. It's a really interesting game. I've enjoyed a lot of elements of it. I have some reservations, which we'll talk about more as we play through this. But we're going to be playing again tonight. We're going to be playing as the Russians. I actually streamed the other night as the Russians. I didn't post it on YouTube or anything. Didn't go great, but it kind of hooked me a little bit as playing as them, and I kind of... I think one of the things with this game is with different factions, you're going to want different playstyles. I very much get the impression, because I keep fighting the British, maybe this is just why this is true, is that the British are like the marksmen, rapid firing, accurate, at least stereotypically that would be true of the Thin Red Line. But they seem to be more sort of musketry focused, whereas the Russians, I think, are more melee-focused. The Austrians are artillery, we know that. So we're going to play as the Russians again. I'm going to try a little bit of a different playstyle, see if I can play a little bit better, and also, just see how this thing goes. The game's demo is available as part of Steam Next Fest. We are playing the pre-release build of the full game, I believe it is. The game comes out on the 27th of this month, so very soon. Finish. Thank you very much for the shout out and the raid. Welcome, folks. Let's go ahead and get started. So we're going to be playing as the Russians. You can see the 5 different countries: Britain, Austria, Prussia, Russia, and France. We're going to be playing as Russia. What does Russia get? Well, the Hungry Bear settlements are pillaged twice as effectively in raiding stances. We will talk about pillaging. I will pillage at least one town tonight. You can see what happens. I thought I was dabbling around with it yesterday. I was wrong. There's a big difference when you pillage a town, and you guys will see that soon. The Russian army fields cheap recruits and is held together with excellent morale, allowing it to endure long and punishing campaigns. But recruitment is disorganized as Russia struggles with logistics far from the motherland, and their slow movements leave them vulnerable to quicker opponents. Even so, when brought to battle, the Russians prove a determined and unyielding foe. So the slower movements does mean if we try and run away from an enemy army that is chasing us, that may pose a problem. Now you can see here we start with 4 regiments, 3 serf recruits, and then 1 Russian musket. So these guys are kind of like regulars. These guys are kind of just like peasants with guns. 2 officers, Chernizev and Fernor. We have our trait for this army is Merit War, which reduces the unit cost. There are different armies you can unlock if you complete different achievements. We start with 300 provisions, 100 gold, 2,000 recruits, and 150 artillery ammo, or just ammo. It is a captain difficulty, so it's easier than the Austrian campaign, which is a colonel. It's also easier than the British campaign, which is a colonel. The 2 sort of easier campaigns are the Prussians and then the Russians. Peter the Great revolutionizes Russia into the Russian state in the early 18th century, introducing conscription during the Great Northern War. This enables the Russian army to maintain a significant force even in peacetime, as Russian serf soldiers serving for life form new communities centered around their regiments. Their Orthodox faith makes them fearless in the face of death. I've never heard of Orthodox Christians being more willing to die, but I'm also not an Orthodox Christian, so I don't know why that might be the case. All right. Hey, Seatown. All right, so we've got 3 options to do. We've got Protect Livonia, Protect Courland, or Protect Hungary. So I don't really see these as being like on the defensive ever, so I don't know that matters. But what is different here is you have different sort of unlocks when you do different things. So if we do protect Livonia, we're fighting against the British here. And if we secure 4 encampments, we get the Kiezevi Musketeers, which looks like a pretty darn good musketry line infantry regiment. Venst, thank you for the resub. And Sign, thank you for the follow. If you secure 5 convoys, then you get the Tribute Collection Doctrine, which collects 100 tailors for the first time you visit any settlement, which is kind of interesting. That's quite a bit of gold every time you visit a settlement, although it does increase the cost of items there. Protect Courland is secure 4 encampments and get the Russian veteran musketeers. We can upgrade units to this, so this isn't like super special, but they're good units. And then secure 5 convoys gives us a scouting parties doctrine, which improves campaign visibility. Or if we do the Protect Hungary route, we do 4 encampments and we get observation grenadiers. Those are, well, they're observations, so I don't know how good they are. And then the Scraping the Barrel doctrine gives us cheaper troops. I actually like the idea of the getting 100 tailors every time you visit a settlement. The only issue is then you got to go real hard for convoys first, because if you go into settlements, then you, I assume, don't get 100 tailors unless it's like after the doctrine's unlocked it's the first time. I'm not really sure. But I like that idea. Also, the Kiev Z Musketeers sound pretty cool, so we'll go with them. We are going to be fighting the British in every one of these scenarios. There are some Prussians in the Protect Hungary option, but it looks like this game really wants us to fight the British, because every time I start a campaign, it seems like they are the main enemy, at least in the first act. So this also is, you know, I assume this is like up near Lithuania-ish. And so we're going to go ahead and defend this area here. Or is that further north? Is that... because Narva's up here, and that's a port on the... Well, anyway, this is the Baltic, isn't it? And then this is the bay by Riga. But yeah, anyway, let's do Protect Livonia. Trips, thank you for the follow as well. Yeah, I was right. South of the Gulf of Finland. Act 1, Livonia. Here's our starting army. We've got the Musketeers in the 2nd Brigade under Chernisev. We've got the Serfs under Fairmore. The Musketeers do have better weapons. They've got Tula muskets, which have 17% accuracy, 40-second reload time, 9 for charge, and 16 for melee. The other guys all have worn musketry or equipment, which is much worse for charge and melee. They are slightly faster to reload, and their accuracy appears to be the same, so that's interesting. Although their range is worse, right? Yeah, considerably worse. All right, so we've got these 5 things here. We've got morale and charge. We're going to assign that to one of these musketeer units here, because they're probably going to be doing a little bit more melee combat. Let's also give them staff chaplain, because these guys, if they're going to melee a lot, casualties restored, more morale. And then... do we really want to make these guys like the charging of the chargers? No, we should probably break these out a little bit. So Spirit Ration slows them down, but gives them better charge. Also better in melee combat. And then we can do buckshot rounds also, which are an optional thing you don't have to use, but you can use them if you want, like right before you go in. Shorter range, but obviously it's kind of like a shotgun effect. So that's how we'll kind of equip these guys. Sober, thank you for the follow as well. I don't know if I'd call it like... well, maybe Ultimate General American Revolution in that you have persistent armies. But the campaign's much more sort of rogue-ish than Ultimate, I think, in my opinion. All right, let's name these guys. Since you subbed, we'll name these guys Avenskeds Brawlers. We'll name our Musketeers Finnish Jaegers. And the other guys, I don't know. We'll just keep the other guys as is for now. All right, so let's go ahead and get started. We need to get some stuff to start equipping our troops. The way this works is you fight for 140, 150 days on this map. At the end of it all, you will fight a sort of main enemy field army that is considerably larger and stronger than we are right now, and so you need to use the time you have to build your force up so that you're ready to face them. So you can see if we go over here on this map, there's a number of towns and things like that that we can go visit where we can buy units, buy equipment, upgrade things. And then there is a headquarters army up here, which you can see. Interestingly enough, they do not look British at all. They have 10,000 soldiers when fully equipped. We have 145 days, although that can change. There can be events that extend or shorten or whatever. There's 5 convoys we want to secure to get sort of the first-time settlement bonus. There's 1 here in front of us, 1 to the north. It's actually 2 to the north if we want to go way north. So that could give us 3, 4, and then the 5th is way out here. So, I mean, there could be more than that too. But first things first, we're going to fight a short little battle. This is how most of these campaigns start. We've got our 6,000 men. There's a small supply cache. We'll march up to it. We have a couple of choices here. So there's a small supply cache lies before us. Handful of enemy stragglers stand watch. We may strike swiftly and see part of the stock before they can react. So we can take their coin, face a weak enemy detachment, get 32 gold. Take their provisions, get 72 provisions, face a weak enemy detachment. Or take their ammo and face a weak enemy detachment. We will take their coins, because gold, I think, is the superpower in this game. Provisions are important so that you don't starve and your army doesn't waste away. Ammo is important so that you can actually fight effectively. Recruits are important so you can replace your losses. But at the end of the day, money buys all. And so thalers are the most important thing. They trying to run away? It says they're trying to break and run away, but it looks like we're going to find them anyway. They do have a provisional cavalry and 2 redcoat recruit units, so they're very junior. They do have level 2 experience and 1 experience, so they're better than our own troops, but we've got more than twice their numbers. So there should be a relatively comfortable victory. That what I've learned, however, does not mean you do not take considerable casualties, however. Light infantry can fight in a looser column. They're not as good at melee, but they are much better at, like, shooting. One of the things to remember a lot about this era is, like, weapons can foul easily, and while that doesn't really happen in game, many armies don't really focus on fighting in a sort of, stand-up volley type fighting. A lot of armies in this era are more interested in fighting melee. So fire a volley, weaken the enemy, and then charge, right? Like, that's the way a lot of these types of conflicts would sort of pan out, I think. Okay, so we're gonna have these 2 regiments here move to the high ground, and then we're gonna move these 2 regiments on the left forward along this fence line. That does open a pretty big gap between us. However, it may allow me to move onto the enemy flank. We'll see. Also, let me know if the gameplay audio is mixed well. I think it looks good, but I can raise my mic volume if I need to. So these boys are moving forward. Units are very slow, and I know I'm moving in line rather than in column, but it doesn't really seem to make a ton of a difference. I don't know if I'm going to get to that hill before these redcoat recruits do. The thing about the hills is they give you extended range. No enemy artillery, so this might march us faster. Move them at the double. Now they gotta take all their time to get into position, though. Our general here is a cavalry unit, but if he gets taken out, very much like Total War and your general dying, it can be a pretty big problem. Move these guys up into that wood line. That should give them some cover. You can see the little shield here indicates how much cover a regiment has. There's also an attack column that we could leverage as well. These boys are starting to become winded and tired just by marching. Trying to engage these redcoats. They seem to be avoiding the high ground. These guys are swinging to the left of this hill. Shift in the line, you're much more vulnerable on a column. We're not actually going to get up the hill before we engage the enemy, but the enemy is going to expose their flank to us, so there is that. They're going to charge my tired troops, possibly having a downhill advantage because they're going to go up that hill and then down it, so we'll see my tired boys if they last against this enemy cavalry. Enemy really decided they wanted to go in and melee us, which is interesting because these boys are, you know, it's a lot of troops to try and charge into. I don't think that's going to work out like they had hoped. These guys up this hill, maybe they can hit these redcoats at an elevation advantage. You can see they've got a 62% elevation. These guys are coming up the hill. 59. The British tend to outshoot us. Also, I'm assuming the British have much better equipment too, so that might be a thing to worry about. Alright, let's move the brawlers in. Do these guys have the buckshot? They do. Let's fire here. Into the rear, switch to buckshot. You can't move and reload in this. You can see the enemy's definitely out fighting our boys here. The British troops are better. But they are retreating nonetheless. They did not have enough horsemen to break us. Alright, their buckshot is almost reloaded. We'll move into the rear and fire it at them. This right flank here, finish Jaegers. They're the riflemen. Hopefully they can hold long enough to buy time for us to rout this other redcoat regiment. You can tell they're about to retreat when they start sort of their weapon icon starts to shade over with like white. That was not... Oh, that was only a partial volley. Even so, that was not as deadly as I had hoped. Firing into their flank there with buckshot. Alright, so these guys are actually fighting almost pretty evenly with the British redcoats. Or they had been before that last volley. We've got like 4,500 muskets arrayed against this one enemy regiment. They're gonna charge me again? Switch your fire to these guys. Are you gonna get... Oh, that didn't get reloaded in time. Damn. Well, that provincial cavalry is doomed. Like, they charged into those fully formed troops. We'll probably reload and fire a volley at these guys, maybe? Maybe not. Maybe they'll get out of range fast enough. Charge into them as they retreat. Let's shatter them. Break them! Send our general off there. Do a little bit of total war where you just wreck the enemy as they run. Shift these boys right to deal with the redcoat recruits. And help finish Jaeger out. Yes, retreating units can come back. Although I believe once they're off the map, they're off entirely. So I think it depends. These guys are gone for good. Also, because this is like an outpost army, they're not going to be persistent. We defeat these guys and they're destroyed. If you lose a battle, the enemy army can be persistent on the battlefield and you can fight them again. If you win a battle, my experience so far is the enemy army goes bye-bye. I assume we will win as soon as these redcoat recruits decide to retreat. We did shatter this unit here. They're still on the map, and my general is still inflicting casualties here by riding these guys down slowly. Again, very old school Total War-esque, but because there's no icon over them, it indicates the enemy. These guys over here could rally. They still have their unit icon. This unit icon's gone. That means the unit is destroyed effectively. I believe the more casualties inflicted or maybe lost as well, like it influences veterancy. Alright, there we go. Victory in the outpost battle. It would be pretty sorry if we didn't win it. Let's see how the casualties break out. Okay, $168 in gold. We managed to capture some Delft carbines, which would probably be more useful for cavalry. They're shorter range and inaccurate, but they reload quickly. Silver gorge cannot be equipped. This is sort of an officer badge of rank, but we can sell it in towns for money. Large limber chests, which can be used to give us more ammo for our artillery units, though it does slow their speed. Tobacco rations gives us more accuracy but less stamina for our troops. And another silver gorge. That's quite a bit of value in these two items that we plundered. We also managed to capture 440 enemy troops. Or I guess 359. We lost 849, so we could ransom these guys to get additional reserves without having to pay them. And we'd also get plus 10% casualties restored of our losses. I do have 2,000 reserves in the bank, so we're not going to do that right now. We could do an exchange where we get provisions and veterancy instead of having to buy provisions, or we could ransom them for some additional gold, and it would also give us more ammunition. I think the ammunition is valuable. I'm going to go with the veterancy, though, because I do want to upgrade my troops more quickly. So veterancy sort of translates into experience. And you can see some of these troops already gained experience anyway from the fight. But provisions are also something you eventually have to buy, so having more of that doesn't hurt. We'll go ahead and hit the replenish army strength button. You can see it'll take 530, or more than that, 800 and some odd casualties out of here. And then we'll do the replenish ammo as well, which chews up all of our ammo. Although it looks like we're pretty much fully re-equipped. When you go here, you can upgrade units. You can see this unit's a level 2 Russian musket. To upgrade to the next level, we either need 4 sort of veterancy for veteran musketeers, which is just better of what we already have, or Russian grenadiers, which are a smaller unit but has even better stats. But we don't have 5 or 4 veterancy for any of these units here. So we can't upgrade anything quite yet. We at least need 3 for the Russian muskets, and again, these guys are all sitting on 2. So we're out of ammo. We did win that battle, and so I think our next focus is to go for the convoy, since that is ultimately one of the objectives here. So first things first, let's head down the road to the closest convoy. That's going to be the fastest to get to because you do move more quickly across roads. We get a little pop-up here. Heavily guarded supply train is en route to the valley below. The carts appear unstable, overburdened with powder and equipment. A direct assault could yield valuable stores, but one stray shot may see the entire train lost. We wanted to expend ammo. We could set it ablaze and delay the headquarters up here from reaching the field by a week. Or we can capture the cargo, get 4 items, which are useful in equipping our troops to get them better, and fight a small enemy field army. I don't love the idea of going right back into battle, but that's our option to get this taken care of quickly. So we capture large haversacks, gives us more morale, worse movement speed, gunner implements, which improves reload speed, Neustadt muskets, which are much better than our current field muskets, and then a pocket Bible. So quickly before we fight, I believe, because we are going to fight the enemy here. We'll go in here. I'm not going to equip the carbines just because I think they're worse. 8 accuracy is worse than 17. But I am going to equip the Neustadt muskets here. 20% accuracy, 131 range, 38 reload, 12 and 10 respectively, so they're better at charge. They're slightly worse in melee, but they are faster to reload, they have longer range, and more accuracy. So I think we'll give them to our musket troops. And then that does free the Tilla musket up for Venskid's Brawlers, who are kind of my best unit, I think. This is a marginal upgrade for them. Let's also give these guys... Accuracy seems more relevant for these guys, so let's actually give tobacco to Finnish Jaegers, so they get better shooting. And then gunner implements... Oh, that's only for artillery. Lame. Morale damage received less, so these guys can stand in line and shoot longer. We can give them better morale for these surf recruits here, although they are slower. These things need to be sold, but not right now. And this stuff up here, presumably to be kept for now. Alright. So we're going to face an enemy field army that is actually about our size. They're just slightly smaller than us. This will be a much more even fight than I would like. Hopefully we win it. We'll have to be a little bit more careful, because again, I think the British are better in a stand-up fight. They have Highland Foots, which are going to be better than anything we have. Those are kind of like Grenadiers. They've got a level 2 experienced Redcoat recruit, which is kind of equivalent to my Surf recruits, although 15, 25. Oh, my troops are actually more accurate and better reload speeds. Interesting. So the veteran Surfs are better than the Redcoat recruits. They do have subsidy recruits, and they also have an artillery battalion, which is a problem. The artillery is something we have to worry about. Yeah, I think the carbines 100% would be useful for cavalry. I would not want them in my line troops. Range too short, accuracy too little. All right, at least we start in okay. Actually, I would argue this is a very good defensive terrain. We've got a river line here across the map that slows the enemy movements. We have an elevation here that we can deploy our troops on. Deploy these troops on this sort of hedge. And then along this fence line here. We'll keep one set of serfs in a assault column on that hedge as a reserve. We just have to hope the enemy artillery isn't too good. I don't know if you could deploy behind a reverse slope. Never really seen that be done. I guess it would make sense, because you do see the artillery rounds sort of skip across the map. Artillery is usually the first thing I try and get. Not that I'm like some grizzled veteran in this game, but artillery would be the most, like, you can, in battles I was fighting yesterday, I was inflicting 500 plus casualty without loss from an artillery battery halfway through a battle. Like half of a regiment destroyed by just my artillery. I think it's cool how devastating the artillery can be. I wish it was a little more positional. Like, it doesn't seem like the firing down the flank is as maybe deadly as it should be, although firing straight ahead is very deadly. So like it's kind of an interesting sort of factor. Where are their guns? I'd like to maybe work around their infantry and go for their artillery. Right now, they're obviously all too close together, but if I can charge my general at their artillery in melee, I think we will win comfortably. The problem is I've got to wait till their infantry is, like, out here on its own, and then it does take a little while to maneuver around. Actually, maybe we would just start sending the general now. Now, anything in this radius does get a morale boost, so I will be sacrificing the general morale boost. And also, if my general gets killed doing this, that will considerably impact the morale of my army. But yeah, army's moving in column, much more devastated by artillery. That makes sense, though. Hopefully the surf recruits behind the surf recruits are not the target. They've got cover, which I assume the way the game treats cover is it's concealment, not actual cover. Oh, wow. Okay, so they fired their first salvo. You can see it looks like they shot long. We took 10 casualties, which is actually pretty modest. You can see 3 sort of areas of the ground was scarred by ricochets. It'd be real cool if I could drag this around like an Ultimate General. Another 15 casualties. I suppose being on this elevation is pretty darn good for us because it does look like they're overshooting. We're on elevation, so we've got longer range, so we fired a volley at the Highland foot, and actually we gave them more than they got. They barely touched us on that one. Enemy volley was a problem. 100 casualties taken at the hand of the Highland foot so far. Okay. So the Finnish Jaegers, with the artillery shooting at them, it's not ideal, but it is not the worst thing in the world. Trying to work the cavalry up around the enemy line. They're moving through the creek right now. Hopefully the enemy doesn't shift their fire against us. I don't know how long Finnish Jaegers will hold up. We've got the surf recruits back here who can charge in and melee the enemy when needed. I'm hoping this cover results in favorable KD ratios. Is this only made by 3 people? I really don't know much about the actual development team. Alright, can you get across this creek more quickly? Alright. Enemy just fired their artillery off again. So we have lost double their casualties on the right here with Finnish Jaegers. But we're doing some damage. Can they charge the enemy guns before they reload? I don't think they'll get there. That was not as devastating. Oh, never mind. I was gonna say, it's not devastating as I thought. And it didn't end up being. My general shattered them, and their artillery routed. So hopefully that helps Finnish Jaegers' high ground matter more. Again, the British are kind of out musketing us. We've got the 1 surf recruit regiment in reserve. These guys get cover. I got to deploy like bales of whatever in front of them. Oh, so this is misleading. They're all focusing on the surf recruit regiment. These guys are shooting basically free and clear without taking damage. My general is now behind the enemy lines. Those enemy artillery pieces are shattered. They took a few casualties, but nothing decisive, and now I think I just charge them at whichever enemy unit breaks first, right? Or we could have them charge into the rear of the Highland foot. But I worry they're too weak to do that well, and that would cost us the battle. To that end, I'm actually going to send the surf recruits. No, I'm going to send them over to the left. These enemies are in the open. I don't want to charge across a river. Finish's boys are going to take a heck of a lot of casualties. I'm going to need to send some troops into town to get replacements. Yeah, I know it was made by a studio that the Armchair Historian sort of owns. I didn't really know details around how many people may or may not be involved. I'm gonna try and melee these subsidy recruits. These boys are losing a lot of men. Look at all the bodies on the ground here, boys. You got the high ground. Let them think they have the high ground, as the abysmal Napoleon movie would say. Alright. Outnumber them by 500 men. Better experience too. Are they shifting? We're in an assault column, which I assume is better for melee. It would seem so. Alright, we'll send the general after those guys. Man, these Finnish Jaegers are just gonna blast each other into oblivion. Shoot at these guys on the flank. This cavalry should... They're outnumbered almost 10 to 1, however the enemy is already retreating, so cavalry into a retreating enemy body is likely going to trickle them down and cause them to shatter eventually. Finnish Jaegers broke and ran. Their commander was killed. They had a general. No more. Not as clean of a battle as I would like to have seen, but it is what it is. Our boys are tired. Thankfully, the enemy are too. Their stamina is better, but not dramatically. Are those Highland Foot trying to rescue the lads I'm attacking in the rear? Looks like maybe they are. Shattered him. Right, clear the field of fire. You guys are in the way. Highland Foot are going to be more disciplined. You can see they will probably inflict considerably more casualties on us. However, with these the surf recruits coming in behind, hopefully they're able to steady the line. Oh, my general retreated? Really? That's different. I don't usually see those that happen. I kind of assumed we had this thing in the bag, but morale's way closer than I would like. My general's boys are retreating now too, which is not good from a morale point of view. I've enjoyed it so far. Yeah, but the redcoats are retreating. Usually in this game, once they're retreating, they're kind of, it's like Total War where you just butcher them as they run. But the enemy may have rallied. That would make sense. General rallied at least. Ah, yes, the vaunted respect. His boys love him. Oh god, they volleyed my general? How many men are left here? 700? They're low on ammo? They must be. The blue bar there is morale, by the way. Okay. We fire a volley and then charge. That's what I'd like to do. Alright, boys, please break him. If we lose this charge here, we may lose the battle. There we go. They're retreating. Cavalry charged him in the flank. 666, they're the devil! Alright, what's that at? Still, morale way too close. Surf recruits, go back this way. I'll let the general pursue. We'll try and get him behind these redcoats and break him. If both these guys were out off the map, then we're in pretty good position. But the morale here is way too close. Some of that's that one of our generals died. These guys gotta hang in here. Venskid's brawlers. They're doing work. This is a very bloody fight. I don't know how many men we've got. I guess the morale probably has to go to 0 for them to rout off the map, or at least for them to rout. These redcoat recruits with an additional 2,000 troops against them should be doomed. Fire the missiles. But I'm tired. Can I put carbines on my general? I don't know that my general officer has... I don't know what his equipment is. I haven't noticed the ability to do that. Alright, these guys... Morale gap is getting a little bit bigger. Yeah, we haven't lost a mana. We're just chewing up these guys slowly but surely. I think they're about to shatter when this blue goes to 0. They're gonna charge me? I mean, that might be their best chance. Both these units they're going to be charging, their morale kind of sucks. Nice little charge into them as they approach. There we go. Retreat. Well, that was a victory. Wasn't a pretty one. That was a bloody one. Probably all of our remaining recruits are gone. We had 1,100. So let's see where we're at now. We had 228 more gold. And then we lost 2,100 men. We have 1,100 in reserve. We lost 2,100 men. We did manage to capture dragoon sabers, heavy jackets for cavalry, captured regimental flag, which can also be sold. Step horse, which is good for cavalry, and then a Yon Komping musket, which will be better than the worn muskets we're using for our troops. Our force lost 2,100 men, captured 700, so we can either exchange them for provisions and veterancy, conscript them for 560 recruits, which gets us close to replacing our losses, but not all the way there. Ransom them for ammo, which I have no ammo right now, and gold. Also, I think we get 10% casualties restored, so that'll be 210. So effectively it would be 770 plus the 1,150, so that would be 1,900, so it would be 200 shy. I think we will do that. I'd rather go for the equipment, but I can't really afford to not have an army in case we run into something. And right now I really don't have an army. So, granted, I don't have much ammo. It's a melee army right now. Alright, so the Surf recruits here have worn muskets. We will give them the Joan Pang 20% accuracy, 119 range, 40. How does that compare? Worse. Okay, slightly worse range, better accuracy, same reload, better charge, worse melee. Alright. Regimental flag to be sold. Worn muskets to be sold. So the stuff down here is all for sure sale. The stuff up here could be useful. Yeah, I can't equip my general officer with any of this stuff. We did lose one general, so we'll want to get another officer back. And sometimes I sell the stuff on the top row here too. It's just sort of like you're more likely to use it. Doesn't mean you have to. It does take a little while for those recruits to come back into the ranks. We probably need to head to a town. I need to buy stuff. There's nothing really all that close though, and the concern with the towns is when you do get closer to them, you do run the risk of running into an army that you have to fight. But we got one of the 5 convoys we need to get. This town up here is where I want to go. They've got better officers and infantry recruitable. So we want to go to Wenden. To that end, let's go to the convoy and see. I've got sufficient provisions to be doing this right now. Alright, so intercepted a convoy. So we can get 104 gold and face a small field army. I'm assuming it's smaller than us, but I don't know that it's worth it. So let's just seize what we can and leave. I get 20 less gold, but... What's the outpost? Palisade. Search the ruins. Give me 2 weapons. Slim chance of attrition. Nice. More carbines and muskets. Doesn't look like it took any attrition damage there either. So the muskets are going to be... I assume they're better than worn. They're actually less accurate than worn. Better range. Better reload. Slightly better charge. Same melee. So this is really not a dramatic improvement, but it's a slight upgrade. Okay. So now we have 2 things of Delft. Carbines are the same thing. We'll sell one of them. I don't even have 1 cavalry, let alone 2. We'll head toward Wenden. If I do run into an enemy army right now, I've got almost 6,000 men. What happens at this encampment? Granted, the ammo's a problem. So I can spend money and provisions to get some Cossacks. Are they actually useful, though? I think I'd rather get an infantry regiment if that's the reward for the encampment. And the encampment doesn't go away. Let's go here. It's closer. It's like a little farming community. Cheap provisions. It's a small community, though, so it doesn't have everything. It does have a barracks, though. We can go ahead and spend 60 gold and get some recruits, which I can then fully equip my boys. Cheap food here. 16 gold. I don't have a ton of gold I can sell for, but... I don't know if you get better prices at big communities. I'm not really sure. Don't really look like it, but they don't have a ton of gold, so they've only got 500 gold to draw from. So I'm not gonna sell the captured regimental flag because I won't get a full complement because they don't have enough gold for it. So you can see here we've got almost 1,000 gold now. It's a pretty standard price for some ammo. Not even enough to fully equip all of our ammo, though. Ammo is expensive. I could reduce the ammo in one regiment to bring up the others. Also, these serfs we can upgrade to Russian musketeers. They're better troops. They're line troops. I believe their upkeep is marginally higher. But I don't think there's any reason to keep serfs. They're just much better troops all around. Jackal, thanks for the follow. Gun, thank you for the follow. We don't have a noble estate in this small town, so I can't raise a new officer. But I can get Russian hussars. I don't have enough gold, actually. I can't quite get Russian hussars. Russian rider recruits, yes. And I've found those to be useful. I really like artillery. How many... Alright, so we got 1 filled up brigade, we got 3 slots in the other. I can buy horses. Let's actually equip the rider recruits we got with our horse stuff. So we'll give them Delft carbines, so they can actually shoot guns at bad guys. We'll also give them Dragoon swords, so they're better at melee. Step horse, so they're better at, what, speed and stamina. And then the heavy jackets, which does reduce the stamina by 4, but I've already got the +8 over here. And in exchange, they receive less melee damage. So let's buy another, what, 2 things of ammo? This is not the most cost-effective ammo stockpile. So it does equip our troops fully with ammo now. I'll have a little bit of reserve. Let's head them back up to this encampment. Alright, so we can get a new unit. Cost some gold and reservists. We can either go Freikorps, those Blue Devils, Grenzers, their aim is deadly. Cossacks, I've already got some cavalry. Germans, the old reliable. Frenchmen, a royal recruit. I don't really know which is the best. Grenzers might be the best for, like, shooting. But we'll go with the Frenchmen, because why the hell not? So we got a recruit for considerably less than what it would have cost to buy them. The upgrade path for the royal recruits is much more varied than what our Russian units have. They can upgrade to French battalion artillery, fusiliers, German fusiliers, Irish fusiliers, French fusiliers, volunteers fusiliers, or French cavalry is even. So a lot of options for their upgrade paths. So it was much cheaper. It was like over 100 less gold. Actually 200 less gold than if I had gone at its standard. Let's go up here. Oh shit, I don't want to fight another battle right now. Let's do this. We're gonna pillage up here. But first we're gonna have to fight a battle against 5,200 British. There's a lot of these roving armies that would appear. So do I get stuff for pillaging here? Recently looted. All prices are 50% higher. I didn't even see if I got anything for looting them. I'm assuming I do. But we're going to fight an enemy army with British Light Dragoons, Redcoat Recruits, and a Highland Foot. Although we outnumber them by about 3,000. So that should be something we can win. But we will see. Empty portraits are where you can put officers. So you can get more officers, which can be assigned to your divisions. There's an empty, or brigades. There's an empty portrait here because we don't have a brigade commander for this brigade because he was killed in the previous battle. Now, with that being said, we've been going for almost an hour, so we'll fight this battle in our next episode. Until our next episode, this is the Historical Gamer saying once again, thank you very much for watching, and until next time, I'm out.